That's right, Pow Pow World is no more. Because it's now called Pomble Quest. Sorry for the clickbait there, but I do have a small announcement at the end of the video, so feel free to skip there if you don't want to hear about the name change and some other small changes to the project. But with that out of the way, let's get back to the name change. While I did love the name Pow Pow World, there were some issues with it that I couldn't really ignore anymore. One of the biggest issues being it sounds very similar to another recent monster collecting game. And since I want to avoid association and confusion, I figured it best to rename the project. Initially, I was just going to change it to Pow Pow Quest, but I also thought it was a good opportunity to rename Pow Pow itself. There's no one big reason for this change, but more like a bunch of small reasons that are not worth getting into for the time being. But I came up with a new name that I'm pretty happy with, so Pow Pow will now be referred to as Pomble. The word Pomble is kind of a combination of pow, pummel, combat, and rumble, all mixed into one. I think it just has a nice ring to it. Unlike the word Pow Pow, the word Pomble will have a singular and plural form, just by adding the suffix s to the end of it like most plural words. So Pomble and Pombles. Small thing, but I just like to be thorough just in case. I know the new name will be jarring at first, but I hope it'll grow on you in time as it has on me. And since we're already here and on the topic of changes, I wanted to go over some other retcons and updates I've made to the project. Let's go over some name changes first, starting with Maji and Koji. This will simply be a name swap. After sitting with the names for some time, Maji started sounding a lot more daunting and intimidating to me, so I decided to give it to the evolution, and give the name Koji to the Prevo. The next name change is Planthera. I think it's a good play on words, but I'm actually trying to move away from wordplay. I like wordplay on some of my Pombles, but on some I think it feels a little bit too corny. So Planthera will now be called Florin. Since we're on Florin, I also wanted to discuss the change in the evolution line. Previously it went Bushnap, Shrubcub, Florin, but now it will go Shrubcub, Bushnap, Florin instead. While Bushnap and Shrubcub are both very simple designs, there's something to Bushnap's face that has a bit more age, and it also feels like an in-between cocoon stage for Shrubcub to evolve into Florin. Back to Florin, I also decided to retype its lucky type with the most recently added mystic type. This also helps to avoid repetition since Chaka is a grass lucky type as well. Another Pomble that will get this newly added mystic type is Dogra. I never really loved the day type on it, so I decided to swap it entirely for the mystic type. I think it fits much better, and I can almost see it as an opposite pair to Barpy, the demon type Pomble. Moving on to the Arachman line, I will be removing the magic type from them. I just no longer feel it necessary and fitting for them. The last retype will be the entire Y-Volt line. All three will lose the secondary fire type. I like the final stage being special, similar to how I handled the Kitzel and Florin line, where only the final form has the dual type. And the new dual type for it will be electric air, which makes much more sense given the progression of the line. Since we're on the topic of types, there are three types I am really close to cutting entirely, those being the day type, night type, and poison type. As of right now, day and night kind of get covered by mystic and demon type, which I like a lot better. But I still want to try to make the day and night type work, so I'm keeping it for the time being, but they are really close to being cut if I can't better define them. Poison on the other hand is a very defined type, but I just don't find myself interested in making poison type designs. So these three types are still on the fence for now until I can come up with some Pombles that warrant these types. Now moving on, I'll actually be making my first cut of the Pomble roster. That Pomble being Flish. It's a design that came from an AI generated tool from a couple years back, and given my current feelings on AI, I'm just no longer comfortable with it being an official Pomble. It was honestly a long time coming for this guy. Lastly, the devices known as the Powball and Powhome will now be renamed Pompod and Pomhome respectively. I wanted to change Ball to Pod just because it still reminded me too much of Pokemon. Plus, Pod has implications of a capsule or a home of some sort, which I think better represents the device. Plus, alliteration is also nice. I know change is hard, especially for me. I'll miss the old name a lot, but I think the change was necessary and for the betterment of the project. More changes and updates are bound to happen as the project progresses. You could almost say the project is evolving? Anyway, those are all changes I'll mention for now, since other ones will tie into future videos. In my last video, I talked about how this project is now under a gameplay scope, and that has already changed up how I think about so many things. So I'm excited to talk about that real soon. I also want to thank everyone for their input and suggestions on different games I should check out. I haven't gone through them all yet since there's a ton, but it's been really enlightening discovering them all and realizing I did not know about the tactics game genre. I'd love to talk more about the gameplay for Pomble Quest once I've completed some more research. Now finally for the small announcement. I reached 1,000 subscribers since my last video. And the very YouTube thing to do, of course, is the Q&A video to celebrate the milestone. So if you have any questions about me or the project, drop them down below. Leave as many as you want and I'll try my best to answer them in the next video. Be sure to leave the comments as soon as possible since I'll probably start working on that video 1 to 2 weeks after this video drops. In addition to questions, be sure to let me know what you think about the changes discussed, especially the new name of the project. Like it better, grave mistake, or pretty much neutral to it. I'd love to know. But that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching and I will see ya next time.